Okay, so the practicing writing equations for trig functions from the graphs. So basically what we have here is we're going backwards. So we have our graph. We need to find everything we need to know about the graph in order to create our equation. Okay, so let's start with the easiest, our maximum here, and our minimum is right here. Okay, so maximum is at 9, our minimum is at 5, which means this distance is 4. That will tell me my amplitude because it'll also tell me where my center line is. So my center line is going to be right in the middle, right here. And the center line is at 7, which means my amplitude is 2 because my center line is y equals 7, because the distance from my center line to my maximum or minimum is my amplitude. So I already know what my k and my a is. Okay? Now, at this point, we need to find our period. Okay? So it doesn't matter which trig function I'm using. If I wanted to, I could use from max to max to find my period. Okay? What I do know though is, since I don't know where this point is, I do know that this is at 2 pi over 3 and this is at 2 pi. Okay? So I know halfway. So to find half of it, it's going to be 2 pi minus 2 pi over 3. Okay? So this distance from here to here is half of my period. So when I do that, I'm going to get 6 pi over 3 minus 2 pi over 3, which is 4 pi over 3. So that's half. So I multiply it by 2, and I get 8 pi over 3. That is my period. So my period is 8 pi over 3, which means my function has been horizontally stretched. Okay? So to find out by what factor, I use this equation, 2 pi over b. Well, whatever b is, my answer has to be 8 pi over 3. So I'm working it backwards. So I'm solving for b. So I cross multiply. When I cross multiply, I get b equals, and it'd be 3 times 2 pi is 6 pi over 8 pi. Pi's divide out, which leaves us with 3/4. B is 3/4. Okay? Now, at this point, I got to figure out, am I going to use sine or am I going to use cosine? So if I use sine, my sine wave is going to start here and end here. Okay? So that will be sine. And that would be the one I would use because that means I have no shift. So if I'm doing sine, so f of x equals k plus a sine of bx minus h. That means my equation is going to be k is my center line, plus 2, which is my amplitude, b is 3/4 x, and no h. Okay? So that's what it would be if it were cosine. Sine. If I was doing cosine, okay, and that I'll do in this color, my cosine would start here and it would go to here. Okay, I'd still be using this equation, f of x equals k plus a cosine of bx minus h. The difference is that if I do cosine, I have to find my phase shift because my function's been shifted over. Okay, so remember, phase shift is h over b. Now it has been moved 2 pi over 3. So my phase shift is 2 pi over 3. I do know what b is, so I can find what my h to go right here is. So basically h is going to be equal, because we multiply both sides by b, is 2 pi over 3 times b, which is 3/4. So 3 divides up with 3, so you get 2 pi over 4, or pi over 2. So that's what h is. So if I'm doing cosine, my function is going to be 7 plus 2 cosine of 3 over 4x minus pi over 2. Because I'm moving to the right, so it's negative here, and pi over 2 is my h. Okay? And you can see that no matter if I do sine or cosine, they're basically the same. The only difference is going to be that shift. Okay? All right. The last one. All right. So for this one, same thing. I'm going to start with our max, which is at -1. Our min is at -7. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my whole distance is 6. So my center line is in the middle. 2, 3, right here. So this is my center line at -4. So right off the bat, my center line is at -4. My amplitude is 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 from my center line. Okay. So I already know K is -4 and A is 3. Now let's check my period. Okay. So basically, like I said, you could do it, the easiest way is doing it from max to max. Okay. So these marks are in pi over 4. So pi over 4, pi over 2, this is 3 pi over 4. And this is -5 pi over 4. Okay, so my total distance is going to be 8 pi over 4, and 8 pi over 4 is 2 pi. Okay, so my period is still 2 pi, which means I haven't had a horizontal stretch or compression here. Okay, now at this point it's up to you. Either way, I'm going to have to shift this thing. Okay, so I'm going to do the red one. If this is sine, I could start sine here like this, and it would go like this, which means basically this is pi over 4. It's been the sine shifted over pi over 4. Or I could use cosine, and I could start here and go like this, and that's a cosine wave. And that means it's been shifted 3 pi over 4. I mean, if you really want to be extra, you could say, okay, I could use this cosine wave here, and it's been shifted -5 pi over 4. Or you could say, oh, I'll use this one right here. This is sine right here, where it goes like this, and it's been shifted over and reflected. Okay, but like I said, keep it simple. Don't make it harder on yourself than it needs to be. Okay, so if I use sine, this will be the red one. Okay, so basically sine, it's been shifted pi over 4. Since there's been no horizontal stretch or compression, my h is pi over 4. So sine is going to be -4 plus 3 sine of x, and it's -pi over 4. Or if you did this cosine wave from here to here, this one, it would be f of x equals -4 plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 pi over 4. But there are basically almost an infinite number of possibilities here because they are waves, and since they go in a cycle, there will be a bunch of different answers that could possibly be. These are the two of the easiest ones.